So here we go again. We've got another experiment. What I've done is I've drilled a couple of 1¼ inch holes, and I put this ceramic glass on the sides. So now what's going to happen is the air will be going through these holes around the back of the stove and coming through those back holes, being preheated and coming up the face of the glass. We'll give it a whiz and see what happens. The only other modification I've done is I had a piece of vermiculite across there, and I've just got one larger piece of glass there now. And apart from that, it's the same. Okay, she's on fire. Let's see what happens. Well, I'll tell you what happened. It was a disaster, and it just turned into a smoky mess. The glass got so black, it was unbelievable. And I'm fairly sure it's because the holes I drilled weren't big enough. So we're going to reset it up. I've now made the holes considerably larger. So I've set it up again. Unfortunately, I forgot to clean the glass. So the upper glass, after my last disaster, is incredibly black, but I can't be bothered to take it out now. It'd be interesting to see how long it takes to clear anyhow. So we'll just rearrange a few pieces of this wood. It's never a problem for this fire to get going. We top light it and it soon catches. But it's going to have to get really, really hot. The top box front glass has to sort of reach, I think it's about 350 centigrade before the smoke will burn off. And I think for the air in the firebox, for the preheated air, is really, the fire needs to go right down to coals. It needs to burn down quite low before it preheats that air. And hopefully we'll get some success from that. We'll just play it by ear and see how long it takes to clear. I mean, the Vortex stove, it's quite successful in its own right. It's only a very small 4-inch system, and it really pours out heat. It really does. It's just that over-fueling issue when you reload it, and that's what we need. If we can operate it as a cook stove, we need to be able to reload it if and when. Okay, so we're back on it. About an hour has passed. The first fire completely burnt down to ashes, and I've reloaded it. So the flames, it's no longer top lit. The flames are coming from the bottom, and I've put in as much wood as I could fit inside that firebox. I crammed it all in, and it's loose pieces with lots of air around it. So, I mean, this is actually encouraging over-fueling, and it gives the impression that it is over-fueling massively. But in actual fact, we'll have a look in a minute, or I'll show you what's going on in the chimney. But I mean, this is just starting to build up the fire. I think it's going to get even more furious than it's running at the moment. But as far as I can see, there's no smoke coming out the chimney. I'll just pull back and we can have a look. I mean, there you go. I mean, it's no smoke coming out, and it's such a direct route. So that smoke is burning off in that top chamber. Or perhaps the preheated air now is burning off the smoke before it reaches the top chamber. I'm not sure exactly how it's working. It's a very spectacular display, and as I say, there's zero smoke coming out, so that aspect is fantastic. We might have a look at some of these temperatures at the moment. Now, this is working quite well. I've got my cast iron plate inside, which tends to even out the temperatures quite well. So this is in centigrade. I'll switch it to Fahrenheit in a minute, but it gives you some ideas of the temperatures. I mean, we're getting close to 500 degrees centigrade out this little 4-inch stove, so I think that's pretty impressive. The temperatures all over aren't too bad. I mean, it's miles too hot. You wouldn't want to be cooking at these sort of temperatures, to be honest with you. But there again, it's got a massive load of wood that's just been chucked in. I mean, you'd have to learn to control the stove a bit better, but I think we're getting somewhere. But Fahrenheit is out of interest. I mean, we're approaching 900 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is quite impressive temperatures, I say, for a small stove. It's working really well. I mean, it is another 20 minutes on, and it's quite well behaved at the moment. It's certainly working pretty well now. We've got the air going in these two holes. There's a raging fire in there, and the Vortex seems to be pretty much under control. There are other things I'd like to try. Well, one of the things is actually limiting the exit which goes into a chimney. We've already got a 4-inch, exactly 100mm exit hole that goes up the chimney. The chimney is 5-inch, but the exit hole below the chimney is 100mm. But in the back of the box here, I've got 2 exit holes, one either side, as I've shown in previous videos, and they are system size. So I think I'm going to try and reduce those a little bit and see if that will stop that overflowing a bit, overfueling. Well, I mean, it's performing really nicely now. And also think I might try and change the shape of the vortex slot, which is another thing to do. Try and make it a bit thinner and maybe a bit more elongated. We'll try out a few of those things and see what happens. So jump forward another 5 or 10 minutes and we'll just have a quick look at how the vortex is forming. It's not the best shaped vortex, but it's certainly it's quite impressive, and it's certainly very, very hot inside there. I can't really accurately measure inside there, but I'm guessing it's around 750, 800 degrees centigrade. We'll be back with a few more experiments soon.